This area where we are right now is a food desert. In walking distance from here, you got a corner store here, you got a corner store down the street, you got another corner store at 14th and 44th Street, and there's no fresh produce here.
So what I wanted to do was expand, and when I went to find property, I found vacant lots that were available, commercial lots, but the landowners didn't want to make an arrangement with me because technically they found out by city code it was not legal to do agriculture on a commercial lot.
I mean, one of the things I noticed right away were all the vacant lots. It's just, I think, looking at another house over here, we had 3 lots within that same block that we were looking that just didn't have anything on them. One had a burnt down house, like as soon as we moved in. And we started playing around with the idea of getting one of those lots and then farming out of there.
When we came on the landscape in 2000, that's when we started Soil-Borne Farms. There was really no urban farms to speak of, except for the Steiner College had a little farm across the river in Fair Oaks. From day one, we started a project basically doing an activity that the county perceived to be illegal. Not only could we not have that as a primary activity on that property, but we could not sell the fruits and vegetables from that property. So from a basic food security and business activity, we started from a place, of illegality. And if we wanted to grow the urban agriculture movement in Sacramento and really, get more folks growing food in the urban environment, this was an issue that was going to need to be dealt with.
The front yard garden ordinance first passed in 2007, and that was really a game changer. It was a breakthrough where it legalized growing fruits and vegetables in your front yard. And so many different advocates realized, well, if we could change the ordinances in the city to allow for front yards to be used for growing food, well then certainly we should be able to change the ordinance to allow for vacant lots to be used to grow food as well.
I started working for a nonprofit in the beginning of 2013 that built gardens through a contract with Soil-Borne Farms, and we encountered a lot of obstacles in code that we were trying to work out with planning staff. At that time, we learned about another group run by Pesticide Watch called Sacramento for Sustainable Community Agriculture, and yet a third group run by the Alliance of Californians for Community Empowerment that were all interested in making changes to the code.
All of these organizations recognize that that if by working together we could actually make the change we wanted to see. And so in due time, we realized also that we needed to be better coordinated. And really into that space stepped the Sacramento Urban Ag Coalition.
The coalition, when we got started, actually had pretty good reach into the community through the different partners. We had farmers that wanted to do more commercial level farming. We had individual groups. We had groups in South Sacramento as well as groups in North Sacramento and downtown.
That included nonprofits that were working in the food access space, that were working in maybe community lot revitalization. So groups like Alchemist CDC, Soil-Borne Farms, Ecos, that was Ubuntu Green, Hmong Innovating Politics, a lot of different groups that were already kind of engaged in the space, but didn't necessarily know how to put something forward.
But what was pioneered was that San Francisco definitely kind of took that leap of faith of being one of the first major cities to adopt an urban ag policy. And I think it really helped kind of that snowball effect of, well, if San Francisco can do it, then surely Sacramento can do it.
So the first thing we did was actually Matt Reed carried forward some pretty extensive research into what other cities had done with urban agriculture so we could have a really concrete proposal to bring to the city. Once that was done and sort of vetted through our partners, I did a big survey of all of our gardeners and community groups to say, does this make sense? Then we started meeting with the city council members and found our champions to start the process at the city.
And so what was exciting is that we have people that had their lived experiences, could inform how a policy should actually play out on the ground, Matt that could turn that into policy speak, and then policymakers and staff that we could sort of push to advocate for and understand why we needed to make those changes to create the most and best policy possible for everyone.
And we really want this ordinance to be able to make sure that it serves the kind of lowest kind of common denominator, that it serves everybody, so that it's going to serve people in these lower income neighborhoods and these lower resource neighborhoods. We want to make sure that it serves those people, and then inherently it would also serve people in Curtis Park and East Sacramento and Land Park. If they wanted to do it, it's going to be available to them, but we wanted to make sure that there weren't financial restrictions and too many permits and too many complicated steps in order to be able to access this thing.
And so I think the important thing to understand is that the urban ag ordinance is actually two different ordinances, right? So one is about actually allowing people to grow on all forms of zoned land, whether it's commercial, agricultural, or residential. And the other thing is actually a tax incentive or tax write-off for the landowner for use of that land. And this one's particularly important for landowners that have these vacant lots that they aren't doing anything with.
I think urban agriculture, when we started the ordinance, was mostly thought about as these larger farms. You think about soil-borne farms as in the middle of Rancho Cordova. I mean, that's what folks really thought about with urban agriculture. So through the process of developing the ordinance, we really broadened that definition.
So that the urban environment and a dynamic activity of urban agriculture within the urban environment was really seen as a major player in the overall food system in terms of its ability to feed people. We think that the city has a huge capacity to grow a lot of food, and so that is a role. I don't want that to get lost. That's an important role of urban agriculture for sure.
Our job was to keep it as broad as possible because we saw so many permutations of how growing food and selling food was already happening in the city of Sacramento. We didn't want to come in and say, this is how you have to do it now.
There was really long staff review to change the planning code. There was planning and design commission that happened here, and then multiple city council votes, and it was really challenging to even just get agendized. So it took it took 2 years.
All right, thank you very much. Welcome to our council meeting. Will the city clerk please call roll?
I mean, I think what was exciting about the day of the hearing is that, we built up, we recruited a lot of people to attend the hearings. In particular, thanks to the Hmong community, which turned out in dramatic numbers in support of it, both for the press conference right before the hearing and actually at the hearing itself. And I think that what was exciting about the hearing is that we had done our homework. We had done everything you practically can do to meet with every member, to speak to supporters on social media, to speak to the press, to garner support for it, that we'd done enough homework at that point that it felt like we would prevail.
With your vote in support of the ordinance, you'll create opportunity for many Hmong gardeners and to share the produce with their neighbors and local grocery stores and restaurants. The urban agriculture ordinance is supported by many of my mom's friends who also garden. We ask for your adoption. As many of us will have easier access to healthier choices with a passing of the ordinance.
But I also don't want the most hungry and the most vulnerable to be left out of this farm to capital endeavor, because not everybody can afford a $200 dinner plate. And with $200, I think we can feed ourselves for a long time. And with that, I would just say that the main thing that we have a lot of in Del Paso Heights is a lot of fast food, but not enough fresh food. There's no grocery store. And so until we start producing our own food, we really won't have this opportunity. And so it's so important to really pass this ordinance, but also to continue to work with us to build our communities back so that they can feed themselves, and not just as a charity approach to go to the food bank and get a bag of groceries, but to really look at it from a human rights approach and making food production a human rights.
My name is Kanoki Israel, and I'm an urban farmer. Technically, I live in the county, but our family owns property that's in the city. We now have a lot that we're going to be applying for the urban ag incentive zones, and eventually we want to turn that lot into a place not only where the community can meet, but also be able to sell their food. So this particular area is, of course, located in a food desert. So what that means is Tuesday, if you're hungry, I can sell you food, but Wednesday I can't. So if you're hungry on Tuesday, I can help you, but tomorrow on Wednesday, when you come back to the same stand that sold you food on Tuesday, I have to say, sorry, I can't sell you anything today. You have to go somewhere else and buy food. What's that going to do to the community? What's that going to do to people who are already impoverished and unable to feed themselves? Think about those things. That's how it affects us here on the ground as it relates to the urban ag ordinance. So I urge you to pass it, but at the same time, allow us to be able to serve our communities every day and not just a couple of days. Thank you.
I'm ready to call the vote. Are you guys out there ready for this vote?
Okay.
Okay.
Councilmember Ashby. Yes. Warren.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Hanson.
Aye.
Chenier.
Aye.
Jennings.
Yes.
Carr.
Regretfully no.
And Mayor Johnson is absent. The motion passes.
All right, you guys, congratulations.
A lot of energy and a lot of conversations and a lot of thought went into this. So to see all of that come through into fruition into an ordinance that was pretty much resembled what we really wanted the core components of it to be able to do, that was really exciting.
So I think there are a multitude of reasons why the council took this up and passed the urban agriculture ordinance. One, we really want folks in our community to be able to grow their own food, to eat healthy. This is about nutrition, particularly for our young people. So allowing them to do that on their own lots is a very, very positive thing. Being able to then sell some of that food to take in some funds for their own families, spread more healthy food, more organic food. And finally, for the city, we tout ourselves as the farm to fork capital of the world. If we're doing that, we need to make sure that goes beyond the Tower Bridge and into our neighborhoods.
Oak Park didn't even seem like it was part of this farm to fork movement. So because of that, we decided to obtain some property. There's a lot of dilapidated and blighted property in the Oak Park neighborhood. And we decided we were going to build an aquaponics system on a residential property and teach young people what aquaponics really meant and how to grow their own fresh vegetables.
We got regular in-soil gardening outside, and so we have a bunch of teenagers come, and we're raising food, learning how to eat healthy, and providing some food to the food bank, some for ourselves, maybe some to sell, learn how to do a little business.
Corner.
Here's a fruit stand.
So what you're going to do is,
So that-
what we're
that's
thinking
a-
about is doing trees here and then a fruit stand there?
Yeah, yes.
How does that fruit stand going to?
The fruit stand will be built by the students.
Okay.
And it'll be modeled after a fruit stand. We go and we look at some fruit stands, look, see what
Organically, we've always been pushing to bring our own community up, to learn how to eat healthy, and to learn how to sustain ourselves through economic growth. And so basically the ordinance kind of opens that up to allow us to do that without the letter of the law coming down and saying, oh no, you can't do this. And we can do this, and we will.
I think urban ag has been an important part of our community because not economically, but more just for more survival, right? People say that public assistance is what they live on, but most of the time that's something that is not really reliable in terms of surviving, right? And so urban ag, it gives families the opportunity to make sure that they have food on the table.
Do you think that because the ordinance passed, the fact that they could sell now makes a big difference?
It does. I think they are a lot more confident and they're a lot more willing to, just present their stuff to the public. Before they would sell it at the Hmong stores. Now they're able to be out and sell it on the streets, with the opportunity to expand their the way how they raise the funds to sustain their crops.
Our Broadway Soul Garden, which is a garden of Oak Park Soul as our organization. So Earl Withacom is the private landowner, and he is using the tax benefits from the urban ag ordinance that was passed. as well as utilize the community garden ordinance that was passed a couple years before then. So it's one of the relatively few community gardens that is on a privately owned lot.
So the Root Cellar Community Garden is located in Del Paso Heights on Marysville Boulevard. It's next door to the Elks Lodge, which is a community center. And the garden, just to give you a little bit of background of why we have a community garden here, it's very important for community revitalization and as a beautification project to convert a dirty, kind of trashy, vacant lot into a very beautiful place now where people can visit, find peace, and grow their own food, connect with friends and family. Some of the visitors of the garden to date have expressed that the garden feeds their soul. They really enjoy coming here. And for others, it's a stress reliever. It's an escape from the crazy, busy, stressful life of living in a city, and oftentimes in a part of the city that may be underserved or lacking the resources to be able to solve its own problems.
We know we have obesity problems, particularly around young people and young people of color, so this is something we can get after there. So it's health, it's neighborhood, it's community revitalization. These are the types of programs that we really want, where you just win across the board.
I think urban agriculture is, in some people's minds, oversimplified to be about, oh, it's just about growing and selling food and making money. And it's so much more than that. And I think our job now that the policy is going to be in place is to really work on that sort of cultural shift and letting urban agriculture become the amazing thing that it could become as a community building tool.
I could be using half an acre at a time, but I would like to see somebody else doing that if it wasn't just myself. So I think it would play depending on the lot that we can find. So last time we spoke, it was about a year ago, and it was Randy, Matt, and myself, and we were looking for some vacant lots in the property with interest of farming them out, doing some urban agriculture. And since then, it was kind of hard to get in contact with some of the landowners, but over the time, Randy found somebody that was willing to lease out a section of their property. Ever since I read the Sacramento Ag Ordinance, it really seemed like it made it accessible to myself to be able to start some kind of small farm operation. And I feel like this piece of property is a good low-risk way for me to get some experience doing that. So I'm really ready to get some work done.